Welcome, Houston, to Chai Time on 99.5 FM. I am so excited. Today we have Karim. He is the CEO of Tranquil Clinical Research. And we have Fatima Khanani-Moosa. She is a study coordinator and outreach coordinator. And I'm so excited for y'all to be on the show because I've been talking about the clinical research. Y'all, that's just one part, but the pharma drugs y'all research and then submit to FDA. So I can't wait to hear about it. But I'm gonna let y'all introduce first. So Fatima, you want to go ahead?
Okay, yes. So I'm Fatima.
Yeah.
I have been working at Tranquil for a little over maybe about 3 months now. But my father's a physician, so I've always been, involved in the medical field. And I have my esthetician license after I graduated from college because that was a passion of mine to give back to cancer patients and take on this opportunity. So now I do the outreach for Tranquil, and a portion of mine is like study coordinator as well. But a large part of it is just getting out to the community, sharing what we have to offer to the physicians and local organizations and patients and things so we can give them opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Karim, you want to share with us, because I was reading and it is a long journey that you've been through, right? So can you please share with us?
Sure. My name is Karim Mohammed. I'm the CEO and founder of Tranquil Clinical Research. In August, we make 10 years in business.
Wow,
the most exciting part of the business that we have right now is the site where we're treating people who have diseases with new drugs and new devices through clinical trial where they may not have an opportunity for treatment. For example, like in cancer, we have 9 phase 1 cancer studies where 3 of them, we're the first site up and running in the world to offer this potential treatment.
That's amazing.
And we're seeing outcomes that you don't get unless you can get opportunity to this treatment. Right now, the only way is on study through a clinical trial.
Wow, that's amazing. But what led you here?
So my journey started in medicine when I was 18. I was a medic in charge for a 911 EMS unit in Lake Houston.
Yeah.
And then worked my way through school, going to school in a day and working at night at a level 1 trauma center. And a research company in Virginia recruited me a long time ago, over 20 plus years ago. And that's what's called a contract research organization, developing clinical trials to take them into trial centers throughout the world. And that's what I did for a long time until I opened my company 10 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm so, I can see the passion in both of y'all's faces, and just the energy is so amazing, So I'm sure the patients are in good hands with y'all, and the care that y'all take. So what is a clinical trial?
So a clinical trial is every new drug that is developed, or new device or new molecule that is going to be used to treat people have to go through the process of study to make sure it's safe and then effective for treatment.
Yes.
And it goes through clinical trials. So every single drug that's currently approved by the FDA has gone through this path.
Okay.
And the process is just where people volunteer to be research subjects, participants on trial, to take this new drug or new device and then test to see if it's safe and if it works for them.
Okay. So the clinical trial, generally, is there a time period for it?
Yes.
Yeah.
The design on each trial is always variable, dependent on, like for a cancer trial, we keep someone on study as long as we see that there's potential treatment. As soon as we observe that the new drug, the new device that's being studied, what we call investigational, is not working for them, they come off trial.
Okay.
And then there are some studies that there is what's called like a blind, a placebo, where they could be on active treatment or a placebo. And those studies may run much longer, and we don't know if it's working or not until the study finishes.
Okay, so it's different for each
every drug type has a different design.
Okay. Why should someone be participating in a clinical trial?
Well, that is part of my job and why they should be. But before I even came into clinical research, I didn't even know what it entailed, and I think that's why a big reason why why we're here today is because there's a lot of taboo around clinical research, or what is it, what do you have to do and things like that. But a lot of it is so controlled, and so you're so protected. I mean, I think that what we do at Tranquil is very unique as well. Compared, so the protection and how much we care for our patient is like our number one job. So I think that's what sets us apart from other places, which makes clinical trials a little bit easier to follow in our setting, and you feel a little bit more comfortable in that setting. But why people should get it is, one, you may be facing something right now, something as simple as asthma, psoriasis, COPD, and you could have medication or things that you're taking right now that are not working. People are on these things for so long, and they, have no other avenue, and they don't even know that there is a clinical trial. And when you participate in something like that, you could be not only helping yourself, but you can be helping other people to get future drugs and medications, cleared and FDA cleared, so that they can have access to that. But also, what else plays into part is when you're researching these devices and medicines, they're trying to find different ways for, other people to have access to those, so to become more affordable of a drug and things like that. So that's also another thing that it taps into, to have a drug more widely available for more people around and have more access, so there is more relief around there. So I do think it's super important for the further of research and things like that, but also just helping the people around you if you truly care, and if it's something, it's completely voluntary. So if that's something that is of interest to you, and that's something that you would like to do in your life, I think it's super important to spread awareness on clinical trials and let people know around you.
So, but would this just would people do they have to be sick with something, like you said, it's as small as asthma, or
So we have both. So we do have. Right now, we do have ones where it's you have to have a specific indication. So whether, you have psoriasis and you've been using a cream or something on yourself that hasn't worked, maybe you can come try that. But then there's also, we are going to be starting a healthy volunteer portion of we're starting that hopefully in September. And so where actual healthy volunteers can be part of research and see they're completely okay, but if they want to see if other things are going to be helpful for other people, since they're healthy, nothing will happen to them, and they can be part of that research if they're able and willing and able.
That design for the first in human healthy volunteer, we take it into someone who's healthy, so then we know that anything that happens on that drug might be a potential side effect to that drug. And the healthy volunteers, you don't have any medical history, you're not taking any medication, so you're taking this drug, you're getting paid to participate. It is voluntary. A lot of times they have to stay overnight with us in a unit, and it's a unique experience, but it's to eventually get that drug, whether it's for hypercholesterolemia or diabetes or weight loss. Now we know some of the side effects, the concentration, what we call the PK, the pharmacokinetics, the pharmacodynamics of that drug in a healthy human. So then the next iteration, the next phase of that study, it goes to the people who might get clinical benefit from it. And that's where we study what we call efficacy. Does that drug work in patients with this disease? So there are two sides of clinical trial design: the healthy volunteer, and then what we call the patient side, where it's someone who has that disease, whether it's cancer to psoriasis or COVID, that you put someone on study.
What are the risks associated with participating in a clinical trial? Because it sounds too good to be true.
It's like any drug, right? The risk when you hear a commercial and you say this drug might cause you to have numbness or may cause nausea or vomiting. A lot of times we're learning the risks on clinical trial. The risks are that you may have no benefit clinically on a study, or you may get nauseous. Every drug has its own set of potential risks, and some of them, when you're a participant in clinical trial, we're now learning, like say you were the first person to take this drug and you were nauseous, now that goes as one of the new risks to study. So as part of the design, when you participate, you're given all of the content that we have in real time. So when we know this drug might cause nausea or vomiting or itchiness, then we let you know. And as that drug evolves in clinical trial, then we update that profile. So you're aware. And that's really the beauty about clinical trial is it's voluntary, and it's about keeping you informed and wanting you to continue to participate through giving you good information.
Exactly. It's just like reading the back of your pill bottle.
Yes.
It's like, you know, you may experience this and this. That was all part of a clinical trial.
Trials, like somebody experienced that, and that's why it's all on
Exactly.
there. Okay. Are you compensated for your time in these studies?
The majority of our studies, our patients get paid for their time for participation, travel cost. If they have to travel from a distance, we cover the time. Not every study, but the majority of them, there is compensation for time for their participation.
Okay.
And there's like a large screening process, you know, for different of this, you know, different types of studies. So a lot of people think, you know, if they just come in, they're going to get paid. Some studies do pay for screening. Like if you come in just for your visit to be screened, you'll even get paid for your time for that. But it's also good to let people know that, you know, you're not going to be just given a check right when you walk through the doors. It's definitely something that you have to qualify for. You know, we have to meet certain criteria. But you'll 100% be, depending on the study, be compensated for your time depending on what you do.
And you're pretty upfront about it. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, so the patient would know.
Yeah, we have to, because the industry is so regulated. Unlike when you go to a doctor's office and they give you a treatment, in clinical trial, there's no, I just give you a treatment. It's voluntary. And then the level of awareness and regulatory compliance, and we have an institutional review board that's local that has to approve us, and there's the FDA oversight, and then there's the manufacturer or the sponsor sponsoring the trial has oversight. So the level of intensity is so different than a normal clinic setting.
Oh, wow. Okay. And that is good to know, and it's reaffirming, right? Because it's not this like, you know, a sketchy little thing place.
No, exactly.
Or not something that is just there, you know, but there is so much that goes behind it, and so many boards, like you said, and you know.
Yeah, we follow something called good clinical practice, which are international regulations set by international rules, so that we make sure that someone on clinical trial has the consent. They know what they're participating in. They know their rights. They know that, like, our number one job for good clinical practice is the rights, the safety, and the well-being of our patient. When you walk into our clinic, that's what my staff tells you. Our number one job is to make sure you're safe, you're well, and your rights are protected. We do nothing on study until those three things are maintained the entire course of your participation on trial.
And the whole staff is trained on GCP, which is good clinical practice. And I mean, the amount of level of that training that goes into Karim's staff, like he goes above and beyond for like our Tranquil staff, which is another part of just feeling comfortable when you come to Tranquil. You're not, like you're the safety and well-being of the patient. That should be hopefully for the clinics around Texas and the world. That should be their number one, but also the staff who is there, the proper training that needs to be incorporated, so that you can make sure to make your patient feel safe. That's a very large part of it too. And our staff is amazing. Like, we're all very hands-on with our patients, and so that, you know,
and welcoming, because sometimes you go to a doctor's office and they're like you know, you just you feel
like,
so uncomfortable. Anyways, you're nervous, you know.
We have a 2,000 square foot lobby for our patients, where when they come into our office, if you're with us for 2 hours, we feed you. If you're with us, we give you a tablet. So there's Disney Plus, there's Netflix, there's Hulu. We have a buffet, every drink in the fridge, because we understand that people are giving up their time to participate. And at Tranquil, we say appreciation's a verb. We just don't say thank you, we demonstrate it. And, you know, the fact that we are treating a lot of our cancers are cancers where there are no other treatments available. So these are folks who have, potentially, this is their last opportunity to any treatment. And so we take that level of you know, care so seriously, and it's not just let me get a patient on studies, let me take really good care of the people who are giving up their time, and we have outcomes on our studies that the world has yet to see, because these are the first time these treatments are being used in clinic. So it's something quite phenomenal. So my staff, like what we do so uniquely at Tranquil is we train, every employee gets 60 hours per year per employee of training. So we really do something to make sure that the staff knows the indication, they know the cancer, they know the protocol, they know their job is to keep the patient safe and well, and how do I do that? How do I maintain their rights? So this way they're nourished and they're well taken care of, so they take really good care of our patients.
That literally gives me goosebumps, because you said they're cancer patients, this could be their last time, you know, but you're looking into every tiny detail, so that's just great. So how is Tranquil different from other clinical research sites?
So really, when I opened Tranquil 10 years ago, it was to create these differentiators that we do that no one else does, because I take the level of science so significantly, and every drug goes through this process before it's approved. So the difference really with Tranquil is the people, the way we take amazing care of our employees so that they take amazing care of our clients and of our drugs, and ultimately it's our patient. Our number one job is our patient. So from the clinic side, our research unit, it starts with the journey of the patient. I don't think there are many research centers that take the level of care and time to involve themselves in that patient journey.
Yes.
Because what we're after in clinical trial is the data.
Yeah.
But at Tranquil Clinical Research, what we're after is that we know that data is someone's real life experiences. So even your vital signs, the way we do them, the way we observe them, the way we watch them, it's not just a data point. It's to make sure, well, you have high blood pressure. Though this study doesn't care about your high blood pressure, we want to know, what are you doing about your high blood pressure? Really, that's the difference. The Tranquil way is the focus we put on the patient in their journey through the clinical trial.
Wow, that's great. And like you said, like in your lobby, they're taking care of the little things, that makes sense.
Sometimes we have even patients who, they're so happy just to even be in our presence. They're just so excited to see us. We get food that some of them is their preference, and we'll have it in the drawers for them. So when they come, they have their favorite cookie or favorite flavored creamer or anything like that. But, to see even some of these people, they may not even having not no benefit or anything, but there's no change in their course of sickness or anything, but they're just so happy to be with us that in itself is healing. They have results in their healing journey just from being surrounded by people who are assisting and helping, because especially people who are at end of stage cancer, when people are diagnosed, there's a lot of support. There's a lot of with anything you're diagnosed with, anything, asthma, COPD, whatever. People are super supportive at the beginning, but then no one follows up and they're like, hey, how are you doing? And that's where we come in. We're the ones who are following up with you, making sure you're okay, and then that support in itself is just changes someone's life because they don't have that at home. So it's really, really awesome to see.
Yeah, that's amazing to see. What does a visit at Tranquil look like?
So the first time you walk into our research unit, you're welcomed with, the introduction of my staff or myself telling you that our number one job is you. Your rights, your safety, your well-being, and then we get to work. If you're a new patient and you're coming in, the way we process the information to you and give you all of the content so that yes, I want to participate. For example, in our cancer trials, when you are receiving an investigational drug for cancer and you're in our infusion chair, we have blankets for you. We have hot tea and hot coffee. And one of our patients said, Karim, I like chocolate syrup and whipped cream. The difference is we do these things to make sure you're comfortable in this process of going through the clinical trial and investigation. For me, really, it's if I were a patient and taking any drug, whether it's FDA approved or not, what would I want? And that's what we do for our patient in the clinical trial and their experience. The hope is that whether it's investigational or not, I want to imprint on the community and the science that you can take really good care of someone. And we are invested in the clinical trial, but we're invested in the patient more than the data point. The data comes after making sure our patient is well on trial.
And during that process, it's the informed consent process. And so that's when we sit down with you and you'll get a printout of the full informed consent, but we'll go into detail of every single thing that you'll be experiencing or, before, if we have to do any labs, things like those are some things that are entailed in some of the studies. So sometimes you do have to do labs every certain amount of days. You have to come in for a visit to be, asked a few questions, make sure you're not on any new medications. Sometimes we just do things day to day and we don't even realize it. But then people who are on study were like, no, we have to write these things down. Everything is important that you do. So there's a lot of follow up. We truly do the visit process at Tranquil is very, very hands on. So, but you are informed from day 1 to day 50, you know, what exactly each visit's going to entail, how many days you have to wait, what you should and shouldn't be doing. So it's very, very thorough. Very.
So then when, like, I'm just thinking, if you enter, so is there like one person that is assigned to them, like a coordinator or a nurse or something? Is that one person that is assigned to the patient? Or
So there is always a physician that's what we call the principal investigator.
Okay.
And in my team, we have full-time nurse practitioners, nurses, and study coordinators. So
Okay.
every study we assign a primary study coordinator, but really the patient
Everyone.
will never experience any lag because,
Yeah.
you know, one of my
Yes.
employees is on vacation or
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
We do assign a primary, but they have this group of people literally behind one patient as a
Oh, it's
team
not just one.
in our
Yes.
research unit where we
Yeah.
have nurses, study coordinators,
Yes.
nurse practitioners, and physicians working to make sure that we take this person's time and their participation
Yeah.
so seriously. And the difference really in clinical trial is if you were taking a drug, they'd monitor your liver to make sure,
Yeah.
you know, we saw that in this drug, liver enzymes go up. In clinical trial, we're monitoring those enzymes for that new drug probably 3 to 5 times more, and we're doing physical exams so much more. So the observation of safety and
Yeah.
assessment of safety is where the science develops, so that when it goes to people who really need this drug
Yes.
or it's approved, then we know, okay, we can reduce the monitoring to once every 6 months instead of every week like we do in a clinical trial. So that's one of the biggest differences in a clinical trial, is that it does require this commitment to, I'm going to need more surveillance on things that in a regular clinical setting I don't need to have all of these blood work and all of these physical exams and all of these assessments. That's kind of the kind of take home from the patient perspective, is that there's a bit more work to do
Yes.
in clinical trials. We
Yeah.
can study the drug, what the
Yeah.
drug does to the person and what the person's body does to that drug. That's what we're looking at.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. What studies are currently enrolling at Tranquil Clinical Research?
We have a lot of studies. So since we are a phase 1, you know, center, an oncology center, our biggest recruitment that we're trying to, you know, aim for is our cancer patients. We do have a few breast cancer trials, multiple myeloma, any solid tumors. We can find something for you, but we do have other studies just like COVID, COPD, psoriasis, asthma, multiple sclerosis,
Systemic lupus. Yeah, we have quite
So
a
many.
few studies.
There
but
are so many.
There are trials that, though you might have COPD, you may not qualify for one study, but you may qualify for another, or it's possible because of where you are in your COPD journey, you may not qualify. So that's where the process of reviewing a potential candidate for clinical trial isn't just as easy as like, well, I have COVID, can I come on study?
Yes, yes.
Right.
We have to make sure someone on our study design, the COVID patient can only have COVID, a new onset within 72 hours of symptoms typically. So every study has a different set of criteria to participate.
Right.
But we have some impressive cancer trials that we're currently enrolling. Lots of metastatic breast cancer trials and solid tumor. You know, that's kind of where our focus really now is. It's the cancer studies, but we have these phenomenal COPD trials that we're seeing outcomes, and one of them that already is earmarked for rapid approval by the FDA if they see if they see the continued safety results and efficacy. This drug will get approved by the agency, but we don't know until the trial gets completed.
Okay.
Right.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back right after the break. Welcome back to Chai Time on 99.5 FM. We have Karim and Fatima, and we are really getting so much information, and it's very nobling what y'all do, right? Like I have goosebumps and I'm a crier, so you'll see me start crying. So what results have you seen in the clinical trial process over the years?
So with COVID, we worked on the monoclonal Regeneron antibody.
Okay.
Before there were vaccines, that was the first treatment that the FDA expedited for emergency use.
Okay.
Our research unit worked on that trial.
Oh, wow.
And for cancer, this year at ASCO, American Society for Clinical Oncologists, Tranquil was published with 6 different of 6 different clinical trials,
Yes.
they published our patient outcomes. 3 of the studies, we were the only center to have a patient with cancer
Yeah.
to have the outcome that we saw in a clinical trial. So we're seeing outcomes. These studies are still ongoing,
Yeah.
but then we've worked on drugs that are now FDA approved and cleared to treat diseases. So we
Yes.
see some phenomenal results. And then
Yes.
some trials, they end early because
Yeah.
they didn't work, but
Yeah.
our patient journey was phenomenal and they were safe on study. So that the biggest result starts with our patients always well.
Yes.
But then we have drugs that now are open and available to everyone in the United
Yeah.
States because in part
Because of
of
this,
what we did.
Yeah, because this must be so rewarding, and like I feel like I have accomplished something just like listening to it, right? Because I can see like I said before, the passion. So where does that passion come from? Like what drives y'all, or what got
Yeah.
y'all here?
Yeah, so
right?
I mean, I think we both individually have like our drive that we, in
Yeah.
this profession. I've come on the show before and talked about my mother is a breast cancer survivor,
Yes, yeah.
and that is a very big driving force for me. Because, well, one, it translated into my esthetician work when I started, but then with research, I'm seeing firsthand, like working with cancer patients, and it's different, like, doing facials and helping people feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
They have that time to take care of themselves, but it's completely different when you're on the medical, like, research side of it and you're actually getting to work with the science. And my actual business is literally called Science Behind Beauty, which is crazy.
Wow.
So it's like I feel like I'm really working on the
Yes,
science portion of it.
Yes.
And then, so it really that really is a driving force
Yes.
for me in this, because I get to see the results. I get to make people happy. It's very hands-on, It's not like I'm sitting behind a computer screen all day. We are actively seeing patients, and so getting to touch people, share stories,
Yes.
and, maybe sharing something that I can help them through that maybe I experience is also
Yeah.
very touching. So I feel like that's a lot of my drive and what, makes me so passionate about it, and it makes it super easy to come to work every day because I work with amazing people, but I also get to do really great work.
Yes.
And for me, part of my career, I traveled every week and I would go to cancer centers that were deploying these studies that I developed, and I saw the good and the bad and maybe some of the ugly in clinical trial. And for me, I opened Tranquil so that we would create this differentiator, and I want to imprint on the science and the way to do it in the right way. And we say at Tranquil, we don't sell polished poo.
Yeah.
We don't take something that's fake or lacks the quality and misrepresent it. So it's about demonstrating the quality. And then from the very personal side, my wife is a breast cancer survivor, and going through that journey and knowing what people experience and what women go through with cancer. And then a lot of that exchange in cancer centers, it's so impersonal. And what we do, especially with our, the last type of opportunities in treatment and investigational drug in cancer patients, we really work to make sure that our patient experience is stellar, because this might be their last opportunity to any potential treatment.
Yes.
So that it is a very personal journey for me, but then the science, we're doing something that might impact the science that we develop, whether it's a failed study or a successful study. The science and the information goes on forever. So that's what I think really pushes me to keep doing what we do.
Yeah, and I do just want to say, though, that his wife did help him start this business up.
Yes.
She is a very big driving force for this. And although she was a breast cancer survivor, she is a very strong, hard-working woman, and she is like a light in the office. Like people, she will go push you and make you do things that you don't want to do. But that's where he is the successful he is today. I think his wife is a really big driving force. So shout out to Ronnie.
Shout out to her. I would love to meet her. Was she there at Hudson, Hannah?
Yes, she was at Hudson Henna.
Yes,
she came out, walked out as a survivor. Yeah. She's a wonderful woman.
And she is my inspiration. My family is like, without her, I couldn't do what I do every day, because running a company, if you don't have that pillar and that foundation that my wife and my family is, I couldn't do this job. So I really, without my wife, this wouldn't be where we are in our 10th year and doing something that we do.
How long have you all been married?
So 20 years last January.
Oh, wow.
So,
If you go in his office, there's like his seating area, and there's a little picture of Ronnie behind his little screen, and it says, "I'm the real boss." Because she is the real boss.
I would love to get her next time. She sounds like a force.
She's her own story. She's going to need her own episode.
We would love, so how does clinical trial advance science?
So the advancement of science starts with someone comes up with a theory or premise that this is a molecule or a drug that might work. And then it goes into the patient journey where we determine, is it safe? The early studies are just about safety. And then the other iterations of trial are about efficacy plus safety. So the way we advance science is collecting all of this data, whether it's from imaging data like CAT scans and blood and physical exams and quality of life and questionnaires. We then take that information, and even if the study didn't work, we work on that information to determine how might this drug work somewhere else, or how can we differentiate or redevelop this drug for it to work. And then there are studies that the drug fails, but the data then helps other drug developers and other scientists advance science. So really, when you're a patient on a clinical trial, you're not just a data point, because what you contribute advances science long after your participation in the clinical trial.
Yeah, like you said, the data stays forever, right? 100%. So that's amazing. So what community partners are we working with?
So, as when I started there, well, before I had come there was no one really actively doing the outreach. Karim is very heavily involved in the community, so he already has a lot of his own contacts and things. But I feel like with my connections, I was able to raise it up a little bit. Right now we're partnering with the Rose, which is the nonprofit mammogram organization. So for every 3 mammograms, you pay for one woman without insurance in their mammogram. And then we just had a community event this weekend that we were part of with the organization called Manos Abiertas.
Okay.
And they are mainly Spanish-speaking charity clinic, but they help, a lot of Spanish-speaking people when they go to get services or healthcare services. There's the language barrier, and it makes it very hard. Also, people get very frustrated from the other end, I feel like, on the administrative end. So this kind of breaks that barrier. People are just able to go, and you're able to, be greeted with the people that speak your same language, which is amazing. And Lucretia is a lady who started the organization, and she's amazing. So we had come together, and I'm really excited to help the underserved with that kind of, things like that and their opportunities. So we did a back to school event this weekend. And then we're also with Pampered Pink. They are another nonprofit an organization that helps women with breast cancer. They help them get resources, and it's just a good network. They have support groups and things like that. There's a few groups that, and we're also with CLS. There's a few individual doctors that we're partnered with and things like that. So a lot of them are a lot more community organizations, but we really like to tap into people one organization that can help multiple people. So,
We're always looking for, additional ways to get the trial opportunity out to people who need it, not just deserve it, or not just, so many trials, less than 1% of clinical trials have people who are black or brown or women, where black and brown and females take medications. This is where we want to give that opportunity to everyone, especially those with cancer that may not have another opportunity. There might be one. And then as far as from the clinical research side, we're Clear Lake Health's research arm. We're Advanced Diagnostics research arm. We're the research arm for Elite, an urgent care and hospital going towards Galveston. So we're partnering within the community to be their research team, so then their patient populations now have access to clinical trials that they may not have had previously.
That's That is just amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think, where is it that where you, if you save one life, you save the whole of humanity.
Exactly.
Isn't that Prophet Muhammad? I
Yes,
think.
exactly.
Yes.
Actually,
So-
this doctor came in and he said something really good. And just because I can't show his video up here, but like I really liked what he said. He said he spoke to like some doctor whenever he was, going through medical school and things, and he said that, whenever you become a physician, you can help, hundreds of people, maybe one, touch
Yeah,
a few lives.
yeah.
But when you do research, you can help like a whole population of people. And that just like really resonated. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, there's a lot, there's a bigger picture behind what we do,
Yeah.
even though it may seem pretty small and
Yeah.
things like that. But there's a deeper message behind it, which I think is really important for people to
Understand, yeah.
Because
there's so much that
Yes,
goes into it.
there
Like
is.
when we spoke about clinical research, I didn't realize that, you feel like in my head it was okay, probably one drug or two drugs, but y'all have a wide variety.
That's why as
And
outreach, I'm trying to
cancer.
make people
Yeah.
understand that,
Yes.
because every time we speak on it, it's like they know a little bit about what Tranquil does, but once we really share about everything we do from the patient to the staff
Yes,
to our
yeah.
facility, people are just like blown away and they're like, why wouldn't we want to be part of something
Yes,
like that,
yeah, yeah.
So it's people, in different parts of the world and in the medical center, they're always offered a clinical trial, but in these areas where it's not touched,
Yeah.
they have no idea what a clinical trial
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
when it could be helping them, be
Yeah.
saving some people's lives.
Right,
And so
yeah.
I
Not
really,
just theirs, but hopefully others. as
yeah,
well.
and even if you just hear it, it may not be directly affecting you, but
Yeah.
maybe in 5 weeks from then, you'll hear someone that comes to you
Yeah.
with their story, and you'll be able to have a resource for them. That's our main goal, is just spread as much awareness as possible and touch as many people as we can.
That's amazing. So how do you make a difference, and how the community can help?
Really, I think the community can help by just awareness that there was this connotation, and even during COVID, I think maybe it improved or maybe it didn't, that in clinical trial you're a lab, kind of the lab rat or a guinea pig. And that's the connotation that I want to remove in our setting, is that you're not just experimental.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might be on an experimental drug, but this
yeah.
is the process of science. This is how we learn.
Yeah.
And it's so regulated, and then the world regulates it through good clinical practice. So I
Yes.
want the community to help by getting this message out that if you have cancer,
Yes.
we may be able to offer you a clinical trial opportunity, especially if there aren't any other opportunities for you to
Right.
receive treatment.
Yes.
And then just anyone who wants to see our unit, I invite them to come see us, because the way we do
Yes.
the clinical research experience, there's nowhere else, I think, that can match the level of quality
Yes.
and that research excellence.
Yeah.
So I want anyone who wants to come see
Yes.
it,
And they would feel comfortable referring
Yeah.
out after they see it. Yes,
Yeah.
we
come
invite
see.
you. We're in the
Yes.
Clear Lake Medical Center. It is a phenomenal unit. We're expanding 6,000 more square feet. We're currently in 9, so that we do a first in human healthy volunteer overnight unit.
Yeah.
So, but really, it's the proof is really when you get to see what we do and you see that everything that we say is real.
Yeah.
And if there's something you don't know, all you have to
Yeah.
do is ask, and our job is to
Provide.
present that information to you.
That's great. So why would cancer patients elect to be on the trial? If you want.
That's I think most people in most disease types, there is a treatment opportunity. A lot of times, the way cancer works is it becomes so resilient to treatment, and you may be a patient who you once rang a bell,
Yeah.
and you're now in remission, and that cancer returns. A lot of times there are no treatment opportunities for you. So
Yeah.
that may be the biggest one. In clinical trial, there may be an opportunity for you to fight your cancer.
Right.
And then another reason is that one of our patients on one of our cancer trials, she did not get the clinical benefit as long as we expected her to on
Yes.
clinical trials.
Yeah.
She did get a lot of benefit. But when she finished the study, she said 2 things to myself and my team. She said, Karim, knowing what I know, that this study didn't maybe work well enough on me or didn't work at all for me, I would still do this. And I said, why is that? And she said, because of my experience. She said, I've been to the world's
Yeah,
best cancer
yeah,
center. She's
yeah.
been to so many of the other
Yeah.
cancer centers in the community, and
Yeah.
she said nowhere treated her better
Yeah.
as a patient or as an infusion
Yeah.
patient than Tranquil did.
Oh.
And then the other comment she said was that she's advancing science. So that's one reason,
Yeah.
is like you're advancing science, and then you're getting the opportunity to potentially get treatment when there isn't anything else open for you.
Yeah.
So, like 3 of our studies, we're the only center in the world right now that has this drug in clinical trials. So if that drug is working
Yes.
for this cancer,
Yeah.
then the only way you can get it is in a clinical trial. And until it goes through enough patients to demonstrate safety and efficacy,
Yeah.
the FDA won't approve it. So the
Yeah.
only place you can get these drugs
Yeah.
is through a clinical trial.
Wow, that's just amazing.
I know.
Like, yeah.
And I'm like taking science classes right now for prereqs for nursing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do that in the next couple of years. And it's so crazy. I was like, reading my microbio book, and it's, talking about these scientists, and it's like Louis Pasteur, he had to do this experiment with this, swan neck, and it's just, I'm thinking about it, and it translates exactly to like what we do, because it's just, you have to go through this experiment. These scientists all work together. They went through trial and error to see what would work, and here we are today with these life-changing inventions that have got us to where we are. So this, it may not be something now, but like maybe in 5 years, it's like, wow, it did something that you would have never imagined. So it's so crazy seeing that in science and then happening in real life.
Yes, that is like an experience you can.
I mean, seeing hands-on, it's quite crazy, actually.
Some of the science that we're working on, I literally didn't think we'd be where we are for another 15 or 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And we're working on molecules and drugs that my mind's blown that we're so rapidly evolved in science, and yet we still have to go through this process and rigor of putting it through patients. And that's why I think people need to participate so we can continue to evolve the science. Look how quickly we got drugs emergency use during COVID. Like, we should be able to have people accept that this is something that is good. And I think for the majority of folks, it's just a matter of maybe they didn't have enough information to say, I want to, or the opportunity to participate in a clinical trial, and that's where some of the misconceptions.
But so where would they find out about the, like, do you all want to share your information? How would they reach
Absolutely.
out?
So we do have a website. It's called tranquilclinicalresearch.com.
Okay.
That one has, you can look up a description of the company, read about what we do. It is in the revamping stage right now. We're updating some of the indications on there of some of the studies we're enrolling. So stay tuned for that. But that's one way. You can also call our phone number, which is 713-907
6054.
There we go. That's why I keep them around for the number.
713-907-6054. And that's a patient line. And we literally try to answer that at 24/7. Because it's
We all have it ringing to our phones too.
Patients or potential patients can call. And if you want to know more and you want to come see it, we invite you. We welcome you to come see it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you want to? We still have a few minutes. So would you like to share anything before we go, or any like your patients, stories or anything of that sort?
So I go back to cancer so often because it's so close to home, but then also the journey. Like, we have one of our patients, and his wife passed on our trial. We saw some early promise, but her cancer was so advanced. And when I went to the funeral service, what was so profound was the husband is the minister, the pastor of a church, and the only names they mentioned outside of his wife was my staff during the ceremony. And he said, because we contributed to the last part of her life, that journey was so impactful by what we did. So an example was in our clinic, his daughter is a missionary in Mexico, and they have a large family. And he said when they had other cancer treatments, the family, the granddaughters and the grandkids and his daughter couldn't be there in the clinic. And when they came to ours, they sat and ate lunch with their mom while she went through her infusions. And they got to sit with their grandma, because on study she was there for 8 hours. The infusion was 4, and they spent a whole day. And he just mentioned, like, literally our nurse practitioner, Gus's name of what he did, and having to call him at like 4 in the morning. And that's the impact I think that we want in the journey of our patient, is that it's not just transactional. It really is
you've literally touched their life and all, the whole family around that.
It's life-changing for them, and it's also life-changing for us.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. Yes,
absolutely.
It is a tough journey to go through with people, but the reward is maybe not the result in the outcome of the drug worked, but really the outcome that we helped someone, we gave them wellness in their last part of their life and gave them an opportunity to hope when there may not have been one.
Yes.
That's profound.
Yes, that is just amazing. But also, I think it has a lot to do with what both of y'all went through, you know, and then to turn that traumatic event, the hard event, and make it positive, not just for your family, but for the community and, like you said, for the world. So we really, really appreciate it, and heartfelt thank you for it. You know, I don't have a verb, I don't have anything to give you except words. But
this is why we do it, honestly, and we appreciate your time and the listeners who are listening. Like, if you have a disease, look into the clinical trial opportunity, and if you're close enough, look into Tranquil Clinical Research. We'd love to give you that opportunity through clinical trial.
And I really appreciate that too, that you all are trying to make it available to minority, because they are, I mean, they don't know about it, and sometimes it's so expensive, you know, that they just don't want to go through it. And it's like, nobody in life should. They should at least have a chance.
That's a really good point, because on clinical trial, we do not take any money from our patients. No insurance is transacted.
Oh, wow. That's good to know.
Everything that we do on clinical trial, all of the exams, the blood work, the radiology, the CT, the MRI, it's all funded through the clinical trial. We don't. There's no payment that we take for that.
And you might actually end up giving payment if the
exactly you may be compensated. And if people are still, like, you know, on the fence, like any of the listeners who just want to know more about some of the studies, anyone's more than welcome to call. We have, like we said, a full staff who's able. We have a Spanish speaking, or one of our NPs is Spanish speaking, so we're really covered on the basis. We'll give you a lot of information, but it's always, you know, like I said, you just want to be put at ease. So if you want to come see it, if you want to speak to somebody, we're here for those kinds of things.
I don't think you can be more transparent than inviting people to just come see it, you know,
exactly.
so.
We have nothing to hide.
Exactly.
It's all there
Pull
for
the
you.
curtains aside. Truly.
Thank you so much again
you.
for your time and the information that you've shared. I mean, I think it's priceless. So.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, our listeners, and we will see you same place, same time next Monday. Thank you. Bye-bye.